Well, here is what we are up to today. We ended up finishing up this 7730 here last night. And what we have to do to it yet is we have to get hydraulic oil loaded into it. I'm gonna pull the sump screen out, although it shouldn't not have anything in it because the brakes weren't actually gone on this tractor. But being that there isn't any hydraulic oil in it, the easiest thing to do is to do that sump screen now. Just pull it out, clean it out, put it right back in. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna work on taking these fittings out of this tank and checking the different screens on this hydraulic reservoir that's on this chopper. The pump every once in a while makes a starving for oil noise, and Deere had advised to check there first. We might have a hydraulic pump that is starting to check out here. Now, I had videoed feeding cows here this morning, and while I was feeding cows this morning, I got into the comment section reading comments from the video where we took this tractor apart, had to do various things, extra things to it because of broken, rusted bolts and whatever. And it alarms me to see the amount of ignorance in the comment section. But hey, you don't have to tell me how smart you are without telling me how smart you are with some of the silly comments that are left. But hey, that's fine. It amuses me. I find a lot of amusement in the comments. Now this tractor's got, somewhere in the neighborhood, it's just shy of 11,000 hours. We did the brakes on this here the last time prior to this time was at maybe, I don't know, 8,000 hours or something like that. And although we did replace brakes on this here a couple of videos ago, or prior to this video here, and that this is the finished work of that job. We replaced the brake components on this side because we had an axle bearing go on that side. When the axle bearing, to get that apart, you're right in there. The brake components are right there. They weren't really wore all that much on that left side. However, I felt that it would be best to do up this right side. We're not doing that until now. I didn't have time back then to do it. When this side came apart, it had quite a bit of wear to it. How much longer would it have went? We might have gotten a little more than 2 years out of it. I don't know. Now another comment that I get, well, the comments that I got were, you know, I don't know why you guys are replacing brakes so much. It's a junk John Deere system. It's this, that, it's the other thing. I don't know what else I don't know what the other tractor manufacturers are using for brakes, but I'm assuming that they are very similar to what John Deere uses. And yes, it's not all that common to have to replace brakes on tractors, and you guys have seen me do it quite a little bit. It has to do with the use that the tractor's getting used for. We have a tractor on our mixer wagon, that 7720. That's got 27,000 hours on it. You know how many times the brakes have been done on that? 0. It uses John Deere oil, or it uses regular, we're using mobile tractor hydraulic trans fluid. That's what we're using. We don't use John Deere High Guard. I know some of you professionals say that you have to use the John Deere High Guard. Well, no, you don't. It's not going to gain you anything. The other comment that I read here this morning too was, why do you think he has so many problems with the IVT transmissions? Well, the problems we've had with the IVT transmissions are the same problems that everybody else has had with that era vintage IVT transmission. John Deere's had problems with those. They have actually offered to do update kits to them, and we did take advantage of that on one of them programs for the 7290 and the 8360. We have a 7930 that has an IVT transmission in it. Uses the same, we're using the same hydraulic oil in that. IVT transmission has been fine on that. So it does not have to do with the hydraulic oil. It has to do with other things that are going on with the manufacturer of that transmission, which is ZF. So yeah, we're getting a lot of those type comments from the big boys that are watching. A lot of what it is they see something else on YouTube, and all of a sudden they're a professional and they'll throw numbers at you. They'll throw numbers like, oh, we haven't, we go 15,000 hours and haven't never done a brake job. No, you haven't. I'll tell you one thing. Everything you see here that we do or happens, we've actually got video documentation of that. You want to spout off with a bullshit scheme in the comment section. If I don't see a video of it, it didn't happen. So spout off numbers, spout off that kind of stuff, and all it is just, it's big boy talk. That's all it is. So we're going to leave it at that. We've carried on too much here, and we just need to let it go, I guess. So we'll get the sump strainer out, and we'll take a peek at that. We'll see what that looks like, and then we'll get the oil put into this and get it out the door. Alright, so here is the sump filter. There is some debris on it, but nothing more than normal without any brake problem. So there's some metal filings on there, but nothing that would have restricted flow at all. So we'll clean this off, and then we'll just slap it back in there. And then I've got to drain the oil out of the four-wheel drive drop box, the differential case that drives the front axle there. We'll drain that out, and then we can put oil in. Alright, so all we did is just blow that out with some shop air. It's all nice and clean and ready to go back, and kind of a pain in the ass to go through this step. But it's just an added little bit of insurance that that you don't have something plugged in here. And it's a good idea to check this from time to time. If we would have seen a lot of metal in there, then we would have realized that maybe we have something going on with the transmission or the differential. But this is all nice and clean. So that makes us feel a little better about going into the new season or the next season with a tractor that'll be ready to go, and it won't have any secret little problems that could haunt us down the road. All right, so we are pumping new oil into the system. When we drain the oil out of this, I was going to reuse the oil, but it didn't look all that great. So I said, all for nothing, we'll just put brand new oil right back in it. We did the brakes on this last time around at 8,200 hours, and that was August 20th, 2020. So it is just shy of 11,000 on it now, so it's gone a little more than 3,000 hours here. Since it needed brakes last time, we really didn't have to replace the brakes this time. However, we did it on a precautionary measure because we had that side apart. Had I took that side apart, had the bearings done on it, put it back together, and not put new brake components in, I'd have questions wondering why we didn't replace the brake components. So once I put new stuff, I already explained that. Geez, I'll be getting ridiculed here for repeating things. Just starting to come up on the sight glass there. So we'll let that get up into the middle there, and then we'll run the tractor at high RPM or higher than idle RPM to let that hydraulic oil move from the transmission up into that differential box for the four-wheel drive. When I was laying underneath the tractor, I had noticed that the front right wheel is wet, and we have a hub seal gone on that front right wheel, so we're going to have to address that here at some point as well. Now we are pumping old oil into our furnace as well, so I've got to kind of keep an eye on two different things here. So this is just about where we need it. We'll start the tractor up, let it run. Oh, I'm repeating myself. Better not do that. So we'll get this full, and then we'll join back up in a little while here, and then we're going to start working on this here. Alright, so we need to get something on our oil mess here, and we'll start working on this chopper. Just take them apart one at a time. Alright, so we've got our catch pan set up down there on the floor. Oil's drained out of everything. And we'll just start taking these lines apart here and pull the screens out and see what kind of debris we see on the whatever ports will have screens. We'll take everyone apart and check and inspect those. So we'll get after it here. Alright, so we've got that large screen out. There was nothing on that. This one here is a small one. It's one up from the one we took out previously. I've got another one on the back side that I need a socket to, I need to put a socket on it to get that out. We'll check that one, and then we've got, I would assume every port on this tank has a screen in it. So we'll slowly take them all apart here and check to see what we have going on here. Well, that was somewhat disappointing. There's 6 strainers on there all together. We got 3 on the front, 3 on the bottom. The 2 large ones, well, the 3 on the front, I took them back out again and sprayed brake clean through them. They looked clean, but so did the ones that were on the bottom side, but they weren't allowing oil to flow through once the hoses were removed. So we pulled them back out of the front, sprayed brake clean through them, put them back together. Everything is hooked up on the bottom. We got to get the stuff hooked up on the front side, and then we'll go ahead and put new oil in it. Maybe the 3 on the bottom, maybe they were the problem. Maybe they were starving things just enough that they that they were causing enough of a problem. So we've got a little bit of a spill here on top of this frame. We caught most of it, pushed most of it off with grease rags and what have you. But we'll have to rewash that. So we're going to get things hooked back up and get oil in this. And then we'll fire it up, roll a knot out of here, put the head on it, raise it up and down, and see if we fixed the problem or not. Well, while the rest of that oil is pumping in there, we'll go ahead and clean up our tools. We got a little bit of an oil mess up on here, but what we don't get off with the rag, the water will get off. So, yeah. Alright, so we've got this system all buttoned up, got it full of oil. It held 73 quarts up to that point. It's up into the high flow area on the gauge. In other words, what high flow is on this is if you were pulling a dump wagon or something. So we'll go ahead and fire this up, and it's going to make us starving for oil noise initially because there's going to be a little air in the system. We'll roll this on outside and run up and grab the head that's by the scale, and come back down to the shop here, test it out anyways, and see how that does. There was about a gallon of oil in that splash pan. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to handle. I put a pair of vice grips on there, fold it up a little bit, dump it right into a 5-gallon pail. If there's a fair amount of oil in it, you can just lift it up with the forklift and use the drain on it, and then drain out what you can. Take it over to the trash barrel, let all the dirt and whatever else go into the trash barrel, and that can go out with the trash. So we'll get things moved around here a little bit. We've got the barrel that we put the oil into out of the chopper, and we dump the oil out of the 7730 into that as well. The 7730 held 100 quarts, so we've got 170 quarts in there, so that is 30, almost 40, yeah, over 40 gallons, not quite 50. So 40 gallons is 160, 45 gallons or so. All right, so let's get this rolled out the door and give it a try, see what it does. Well, we'll take this outside, grab the head, see how it responds to raising and lowering it. If I hear the noise right now, I'm still gonna kind of think that maybe what we're hearing is the pump getting loaded with oil, being that it was out of oil, or you know, we emptied the oil out. So we'll let everything come online here, and then probably what we'll do is we'll let this sit overnight. Today's Sunday, January 5th. And I do have a spout sensor to put on yet so that I can calibrate that. Let's lower it. We're gonna have to check the oil too. I don't suspect that we lost too much out of the suction line to have that be so far out of whack that it's going to be too low on oil. It's not going to be too low for us to do anything with it, but you just want to have it in that operating zone. So let's go ahead and raise that. Yeah, hear that noise right there? But again, we don't know if that is just from changing, you know, changing things out here. So we'll have to go up and get the head, bring that down the shop, raise and lower it, just so that we can make sure those cylinders are, make sure we're getting all the air out of those cylinders. So that's all the way down. We'll try raising that up again. Well, let's go ahead and get this out of the shop. It didn't do it that second time, but it didn't do it the second time the other day either. See if we can get this out of here without hitting anything. I can't go out the door that's behind the chopper because that door's not wide enough. So I pulled this in here the other day when 7730 was kind of demobilized and up in the air. So we'll get this outside. Then I want to take that mess of sawdust that's on the floor, push that over to the area where we're working, move that forklift. Now when we come back inside, we can just drive right in. So we'll be back with you guys in a hot minute here. Well, we've got things shuffled around inside so that we can bring this guy back in with the head on it. I'll have to turn the four-wheel drive on because I will not be able to get up the driveway here. Johnny boy plowing our driveway for us. Look at the services that he offers us. Wow. Alright. Saves me from having to do it. Pain in the ass to move vehicles out of the way. If this didn't have four-wheel drive, it wouldn't make it up this driveway right here. We have both hay heads still outside. Put them both away at the same time, and of course we don't have our work done on the chopper here. So usually when the hay heads are outside, or any kind of a head, usually there's a drift right in front of them, and you usually can't get hooked onto them because the tires of the machine that you're using comes up on the damn drift. Doesn't allow you to get low enough to get down under it. It's looking like we're gonna make it. I got the jack. I do have the jacks all the way down on this, because when I went to get hooked onto this, all right, we're underneath the head. Just got a little bit of weight on it, so we'll see if it makes any noise as we lift it. Boy, I wanted to say it made a little gurgle. Boy. I guess the real test will be letting it sit overnight. I was hoping to find a little more debris in those strainers, but I suppose that maybe there was something wrong with the oil. Maybe the oil was just too thick for whatever reason. Usually oil gets thinner, it doesn't get thicker in time. Boy, Johnny's doing a beautiful job on that driveway. We'll roll up to the door here. I gotta run inside and open it. Let's push this, put this head down. Alright, it's down. Now let's go up, see if we hear the noise. I don't hear anything. Well, we'll have to see what the overnight brings us. Well, we are into the following day here now. We've got some other projects going on that we'll talk about in the next video. But what this chopper has, well, first off, we started this up this morning. Yeah, we started this up and the pump made the same noise. So cleaning out these strainers on this hydraulic reservoir did not help our situation out at all. So we're gonna have to explore some other options as far as either leaving it alone or replacing that pump. I've got to talk to Jake about that. Now, what we're doing here now is well, we'll talk about that in a second, but what this chopper has is it has the ability to, and I think most of all brands have it, but our old one didn't have this option. This new series does. You press a button and hold it on the joystick, and it'll take the pipe from the operating position to the park position that it is in right now. So being that we replaced the transition housing, we had all that assembly apart, I could not get this to calibrate. So I got a hold of Jake. I didn't know if there was a setting or I didn't know if that potentiometer that's on the neck up front, I didn't know if that had to be zeroed out with the computer. He stopped in and looked at it and said no, there's nothing wrong with that. But there is a sensor on this deflector, because what it does is it brings that deflector to a downed position as well. I think that has something to do with the 12-row extension that's on there, so that it doesn't leave it back here. I think it folds. I think that sensor there has something to do with folding that whole unit down. I could be very wrong. I don't know why it matters whether or not that spout is down or up. But at any rate, what there is a potentiometer on this spout that tells it when it's all the way up or all the way down. What there is well, I've turned this some. There's a little groove in this peg here, and then this sensor goes on there. This sensor, it's all wallered out. Now, with that on there and this cover here, it should be somewhat protected. But when we're opening up cornfields and we're on the outside row of the field, the outside round, this gets in the tree branches once in a while. So what there is an Allen head bolt on the other side of this. And this Allen head bolt, it is wore off. I don't know if you could see that or not, but you'll see it when we get it out of there. It is wore off enough to where a hex Allen head socket won't go into it. So we're gonna weld a nut on it. Here's what this new guy looks like here. So this is our stem with our groove in it. And we're just gonna weld a nut on this guy here so that we can get it out of the old sensor peg. And then we've got a new sensor here to put onto it. There is a groove in there that matches this stem, and then when this rotates from that spout going up and down, it tells the chopper where that spout is. So we're going to weld a nut on there and then get that old assembly apart and then put our new assembly back on there. So we'll let that heat travel through that guy and we'll try to break that apart. We might have to cut the bolt off, but it is set through that spout housing a little bit, so it's not going to be a real cute guy to get off if we cut it. So we need to take it apart the way it's put together. Alright, we managed to get this out of there, and it's a little wore out. So this is the new one here. We'll go ahead and anti-seize it and get it put back together. It has a hex, or not a hex, but a square end on it to where it must seat into the spout itself here, to whereas it will remain rigid. So hopefully that housing's not screwed up. We'll actually jump up there and take a look at it. No, it's not. You can kind of see the square hex piece where it goes into, almost like a backwards carriage hole. Backwards hole for a carriage bolt, that is. So we need to pack that full of anti-seize and get this unit back together. Alright, we've got that all installed and in place. We do have a new plug that we need to get on to that wire there, but this guy, you can kind of see it, it's all wathered out and just wore. It's wore, and it is been in the bushes a lot, so we should be able to get that to calibrate now. So we'll go ahead and get this outside and try to calibrate it. And we'll have to get the tool that I need to get this plug apart and get the new wires put on it and get that on there. That one there just does not lock onto the sensor. Alright, so we'll back this outside and calibrate it, and then we can get it into the next job here. Alright, now let's see if it makes this noise or not. We have the head down. Alright, we'll raise this head up. It's probably not going to do it, being that the camera's running. There that noise was, right there. So, it did do it. So, we'll back this out, get the door shut, go through the process that we need to go through. As far as calibrating this nut goes, it does require the hydraulic oil to be up to operating temperature, so we might have to let this run a little bit. See, we're getting a spout. Oh, they shut the door for me. We're getting a spout position calibration error there. So now we'll go through the process here. What is it? Is it this one? Mass flow sensor. We don't need to worry about that. Spout, tilt, and flap sensor. I think that's the address that we want to be on. Spout shall be on its storage support, which it is. Flap shall be fully retracted. Data below is tilt sensor. So I do need to, I guess I like it when it's centered back there. I guess that's about as centered as we're gonna get. So we are zeroed, correct? Yeah. Alright, so there it is there. Now we go to the next step. Press spout tilt up button to raise the spout to the max. And there's a sensor right there underneath that square block. Now we're all the way up. The next step, press spout flap up button to move flat to the max position. So that's going to be the flopper on the end, which that number started at 2700. Now it's at 522. We go to the next step. Calibration complete. Enter. Now if we were chopping along, we'll run this spout over to our right. Say we're chopping, we're done chopping in the field and we want to get ready to go out on the road. We press and hold this orange button, and now the spout is going to go back to home on its own. On the other chopper, we had to do that manually. So we'll get this back inside, and that is gonna do it for this video. Thanks for watching.